All right, let's dive into something you've probably done a dozen times, dropping off a parcel at a retail counter. It seems like the simplest thing in the world, right? Well, we're about to pull back the curtain and see why it's secretly one of the most complicated things a store does. And, more importantly, how getting it right when you're dealing with huge volumes, that requires a totally different way of thinking.
Yeah, we've all been there. You walk up, hand over your package, they scan it, and you're out. Simple. But what you don't see is this. Well, it's kind of like a high wire act happening behind the counter. A really delicate dance between different pieces of hardware, a bunch of software, and of course, the person trying to make it all work. And that right there, that's the heart of the problem we're talking about today. It's this hidden complexity. Because what you're really looking at isn't just a simple transaction, it's a full-blown logistics operation, like a mini warehouse operation that's been shrunk down and squeezed into just a few square feet of counter space. So, let's break down what's actually going on. That one simple scan is really 6 different things happening in sequence. First, you've got to get the weight exactly right. Then you pick the right service. The system has to then create a label, print it, book the shipment with the actual mail carrier, and of course, log the whole thing for the store's records. And here's the kicker. Every single one of those steps, it has to be perfect. No room for error. Every single time. Okay, so if it's that complicated, why do so many places seem to struggle with it? You might think it's, poorly trained staff or maybe just old equipment, but that's not it. The real issue, the root cause, is that the software systems most retailers use were built to do something completely different. They were literally designed for the wrong job. And this is where all that friction comes from. It's all these disconnected pieces. You've got someone typing in the weight by hands. I mean, that's just asking for a typo, right? Then you have one system for the sale, but a completely separate one to book the delivery. They don't talk to each other. And don't even get me started on printer drivers that seem to have a mind of their own. Every single time data has to jump from one step to the next, it's a chance for something to go horribly wrong. This chart really just nails the problem. On one hand, you have your standard retail POS system. Its whole job is to do one thing fast, sell a product. It's synchronous. Boom, transaction done. But parcel logistics, that's a totally different animal. It's not about one quick action, it's about orchestrating things. The scales, the printer, the carrier network, it's asynchronous. Its goal isn't just a sale, it's ensuring compliance and making sure the system doesn't fall over. They're built on completely different philosophies. Now, I know what you might be thinking. So what? A few extra seconds here and there, what's the big deal? Well, in isolation, it's not a big deal. But this is where the ugly math of scaling comes into play. Because those tiny, insignificant little delays, they don't just add up, they multiply, and they snowball into a massive, system-wide headache. Okay, let's just put a number on it. Let's say all that friction, the manual entry, the clunky software, adds just 1 extra minute to each parcel transaction. 1 minute, in the moment, you'd barely even notice it. But what happens when you take that 1 minute and you multiply it by, say, 100 parcels going through that one store every single day? And then you multiply that across a network of maybe 1,000 stores or 5,000. All of a sudden, that unnoticeable 1 minute has exploded into thousands upon thousands of hours of wasted time and lost productivity across the entire business. And it's not just about lost time either. It creates this domino effect. More manual work means more errors. More errors mean more packages getting sent back, which means more rework for your staff. That means longer lines, unhappier customers, and for the business, skyrocketing operational costs. The whole system just starts to buckle under its own inefficiency. So, the big question is, how do you fix something like this? The answer isn't to just, add a new button to the screen or patch in another feature. That's just a Band-Aid. To really solve this, you need to change your entire mindset. It's a fundamental shift in how you even look at the problem. And here it is, the big idea, the core of this whole thing. You have to stop thinking of parcel services as just another feature you bolt onto your store's checkout system. It's not a feature, it's infrastructure. It's as critical as the lights or the internet connection, and it needs to be engineered from the ground up to do this one specific, complex job. Okay, so if we're building infrastructure, how do we do it right? How do you build a system that can actually handle the chaos of a busy retail floor? Well, it all comes down to a couple of core design principles. Principle number 1, and this one is absolutely huge. You have to treat your hardware, your scales, your printers, as first-class citizens. What does that mean? It means they aren't just dumb accessories that you plug in and hope for the best. No, they are core essential parts of the system. The software is built around them, not just aware of them. Think about what this does. When the software is deeply integrated with the scale, it reads the weight automatically. Poof, an entire category of human error, manual entry mistakes, is just gone. When that exact data is in use to create the label, you get way fewer parcels rejected by the carrier. It just works. You're not fixing problems, you're designing them out of existence.
All right, principle number 2 gets a little technical, but it's super important. It's called asynchronous processing. All that really means is that the screen the staff member is looking at never, ever freezes. Even if the printer is warming up or it's taking a second to connect to the carrier's server, the user interface stays alive and responsive. The employee can keep moving, keep working. It makes the whole system feel quick and modern, no matter what's happening in the background.
And the way you achieve all this is with what's called a modular architecture. You can think of it like building with Legos. The user interface, the screen, is one block. The business rules are another block. And how the data is handled is a third block. Because they're separate, you can swap one out or update it without breaking the others. This is absolutely critical for keeping the system stable and scalable for years to come. So after all that careful engineering, what's the big payoff? What do you actually get? Well, it's a transformation. You go from that state of constant, low-grade chaos at the counter to a workflow that is smooth, predictable, and totally under control. And this slide really lays it out, the before and after. You're essentially trading all the bad stuff, high error rates, constant firefighting, frustrated staff, for all the good stuff, faster transactions, fewer mistakes, and way more productive employees. Your tech support costs plummet because the system stops being the problem and starts being the solution. So let's just boil this all down. If you take away 4 key things from this, it should be these. 1. Parcel handling isn't a feature, it's mission-critical infrastructure. 2. Real-world success lives or dies by how well you integrate your hardware. 3. The user experience isn't just about pretty screens, it directly affects how many parcels you can process. And finally, 4. When you're operating at scale, you absolutely must have visibility into what's going on. It's not a nice to have, it's non-negotiable. And that really leaves us with one final question, one that you should probably ask about your own operations. Is the technology you're relying on just another feature, just something bolted onto the side? Or is it the solid foundation that the whole thing is built on?